Good morning. Today we're going to talk about menopause weight loss and why it's really important to personalize your diet and activities specific to your needs. Because, as we all know, some of our friends are going through menopause without a problem and they're just skating through and enjoying life. And then there's the rest of us who we're having some interesting things show up in our lives. And so I'm Dr. Lori Marbas. I am a board certified family and lifestyle medicine physician, and I have helped thousands of patients over the decades I've been a physician help manage and improve their health through all sorts of things. And I've seen patients across the country because I'm also licensed in all 50 states and DC. So I feel like I have a really unique opportunity to share with you one, what I've learned, and I'm again going through it myself, and really excited to share the educational piece with you today about how you can look at what you need to do and then actually implement it, and why you should be looking at a few different things when you're thinking about some dietary measures that might help you with the weight loss that so many people struggle with during this crazy menopause time roller coaster. So, first of all, let me explain, just for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with what's occurring with menopause. It's going to occur with every woman if they live long enough, right? So as you get older, you will go through menopause, right? It's the end of your reproductive years, and there's a ton of hormonal shifts that can change not only what's going on in your body, but it can affect different disease states such as diabetes, cholesterol. All these things can be changed. You will feel like you're walking in someone else's body, or someone else has invaded your body. And it can be really frustrating because you're just not sure where to go, right? There's so much information. Some people say, oh, just ignore it. It's just the way it is. Others say, oh, you can't do this or you should do that. And nothing seems to be working. So many voices. Well, I'm here to help you figure out what's best for you. Take in the information that you need and then massage that to what something that will actually work for you. And that's the really important piece, is this personalized message that you absolutely can do yourself. So first of all, let's just talk about some of the more significant things that are occurring with menopause that are making it difficult to lose weight, and why you're getting that weight gain to begin with, especially in that middle range, right? So when we have the hormonal shifts, we have insulin resistance occurring. So estrogen is really good at helping fat decide where it should be located. Lack of estrogen, the body's like, well, I think we'll store more in that mid abdominal section because of the insulin resistance piece that's occurring and the hormonal shifts that happen in your fat storage area. There's a whole process. I have tons of videos on insulin resistance, but just know that that is a piece of it. One, you also have increased inflammation, which feeds into insulin resistance, which then feeds back into inflammation. So you have hormonal shifts, insulin resistance, you have changes occurring, and they just feed upon each other, right? And you're more fatigued, more stressed. All of that also feeds into it. So much occurring here that you just feel out of control and you don't know where to start. Well, let's start with the one thing we know we can control for the most part, is what we're eating. So, one of the things that I like to emphasize always is fiber. We are so fiber deficient in this country, probably the majority of the world, especially if you have adopted a Western type diet. And so fiber comes from plants, right? So I'm a big fan of a whole food plant-based diet if you're unfamiliar with that. So it's fruits, veggies, beans, and whole grains. There's going to be a few that I would highly encourage you to consider, and that's more low glycemic plant foods, right? So these are going to be foods that will decrease the glucose spike in your blood. It just makes you feel better, less of an insulin response. It'll also help you become more and more insulin sensitive over time. Plus, you're feeding this good microbiome, which decreases inflammation. So some of the things that I really enjoy are legumes and lentils and chickpeas, whole grains like steel cut oats, cruciferous vegetables, regular non-starchy vegetables. Um, Again, some of the more starchy vegetables are a little bit more like higher glycemic index, like potatoes or rice. So I tend to steer clear of those. I just feel better when I'm eating a lower glycemic index food, plant-based foods. Again, the less processed or the less ultra processed foods you're consuming, also the better. So you want to avoid the things like the bagels and the pies and the sweets, sugary drinks, things like that, because those are pro-inflammatory, which gets me to the next thing, is anti-inflammatory foods, right? So these are going to be your dark, rich berries like blueberries and strawberries, dark green leafy vegetables. These are also really good for again, lowering cholesterol, lowering your blood pressure. You just feel so good when you're eating all these lovely bright colored foods. And you'll see less joint pain, less discomfort. Again, the last thing I would say is higher protein foods for satiety, right? It helps with those cravings. Sometimes you just feel like you just have to have that sweet. You need the bread, you need whatever that is. And the higher protein foods, especially earlier in the morning, are quite you know effective at improving your satiety, meaning that you're not going to be as hungry for later. And the one thing that I do every morning is I have a smoothie. It has lots of dark green leafy veggies. I put cruciferous vegetables in there like cabbage. And I know it sounds crazy, but it tastes good. And broccoli and cauliflower, right? So that's about a half to three quarters. I will utilize Garden of Life. I don't get anything by telling you this. A raw meal replacement powder, and basically it's got all sorts of good lovelies. It's got probiotics and prebiotics and additional protein. Throw that in there. But the one food I make sure I always put in there as well, I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out, is black soybeans. So I put probably, I get a can of those Eden soybeans and I put half a can in my blender, my Vitamix. And then I add in the wild blueberries from Wyman's. I love dark red cherries. Again, these are anti-inflammatory foods. And then pineapple, frozen pineapple. So these are three frozen pineapple foods. And sometimes I'll throw in some amla powder and ground flaxseed if I remember. And then I use soy milk as my liquid. And I blend that up and I'll split that typically over three smoothies with people in the home, like my husband and my son if he's visiting and doing the other things. So those are the things that I would suggest. But the soy, what's really important to understand, soy is also going to support your menopausal health, right? So there's some really important isoflavone component or phytoestrogens that will help you with your menopause symptoms. And the beautiful thing is these compete and hit different types of estrogen receptors, and it competes with your natural estrogen. I know you're like, but I'm already lacking estrogen. But when you think about the benefits of phytoestrogens, what we want to see is that, stimulating bone growth, improving your insulin sensitivity, helping your cholesterol, great source of protein. These are wonderful things that come with soy foods. They decrease your risk for breast cancer, recurrence of breast cancer, increases survivability. And I have a cholesterol protocol. And one of the things I mentioned in my cholesterol lowering protocol is, you know, 2 soy servings daily. So again, the one secret food, it's not so secret anymore, is soy, and soybeans. They're kind of sweet tasting, so that it works okay and it makes the smoothie nice and creamy. I've been doing this for about maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and it's going to be an ongoing thing for now. So anyway, I blend that up. I know it sounds like it can't taste good, but actually, guys, it really does. I've had other people try it. They're like surprised at what I put in there. Like, wow, this is actually quite refreshing. And satiety, again, the satiety piece is so important. The satiation and not feeling like you want to eat, 2 hours later. It's like sometimes when I eat oatmeal, I think I don't want to eat, I'll think, oh, this is so filling. But, hour and a half, 2 hours later, I'm like, man, I'm starting to get hungry again. But for me, this works really well. Drink it over half an hour. So your blood sugar goes like this. There's so much fiber, so much amazingness going on in that smoothie, but that's what I do. So just again, to personalize some of the things that you want to look for, maybe some lower glycemic foods, higher protein, and anti-inflammatory foods. That would be the group of foods that I would recommend. And then you're going to be hitting all those factors that are causing the weight gain, right? You're going to be improving your insulin sensitivity. You're going to be improving or decreasing those cravings because of the higher protein. And then the other thing I'm going to mention that's really important here, and why we want the higher protein beyond the satiety, is to support your muscle mass, right? So remember, muscle mass is your metabolic furnace, right? This is a piece here that's so important that as we get older, we want to avoid the sarcopenia. So I do recommend at least trying to hit at least 1 gram per kilogram, which is 2.2 pounds of body weight. If you're within, a pretty decent range of your ideal body weight. And if you don't know what that is, just giving you some rough estimates here, maybe a BMI of around 23, that would be a great starting point. If you're under that, that's fine too. But again, just giving some rough estimates. If you're morbidly obese or really struggling, 50 plus pounds to lose, you might want to be adjusting that protein level down more towards that. Where would you be at a BMI of 23? Because when you think about if someone has 100 or 200 pounds to lose, what you will see here is there's just so much. There's no way you can get all of those protein needs. And that would be too much, right? So again, that's the way I work, and it's worked really well with my patients. That's just my approach. Again, I'm just giving you some ideas of things that you can do on yourself for yourself, and then encouraging resistance training, 2, 3 times, preferably 3 times per week, just starting out small. It doesn't have to be anything big, starting with push-ups against a counter. I have a wonderful story of a patient who we started her with just a few push-ups against the counter, and she was older and it didn't feel like she was someone who was strong or could do something in the gym, so that we just started where she was. And before you know it, in a few months she was doing 60 push-ups against the counter. I give anybody a challenge to do that, and it was amazing because she was showing me her guns. And so that was really fun to see such a wonderful thing happened to someone who was started with the journey of feeling less confident and not strong, and knowing that her body could shape it, but you just have to stimulate it in different circumstances and feed these foods to your body. Your body will respond. Now, of course, everybody has a different health journey. There's different challenges. You may not get to where you want to be perfectly. Like, you're not going to be like we were when we were 20, but you can at least move the needle. And one thing I really like to encourage people to think about is, right, so if you're heading north, right, and you just stay on north, you're going to keep going straight, right, and you head north. But what if you go 1 degree today? Let's say 1 degree, you start eating more fiber, you start doing some resistance training, nothing big, but you just start with the few push-ups against the counter, right? And over time, let's say that's the 1 degree. So now we're not heading north, but I'm just showing that this is where we would be if we kept going. You keep eating, if you had keep eating these unhealthy foods and those type of things, right? So here you are heading north, right? And now we just changed something. We just changed our food, we changed our resistance training. And now over time, as you see, we're changing our journey, right? You can see just that one little change, that tiny little change over time as the trajectory goes, you have massive change, right? And that delta gets bigger and bigger with consistency and just continuing to do those small changes. Just like when you learn to drive a car, the first time it was really awkward, but over time it just became easier and easier, to the point you may not even remember how you got from point A to point B. And so that is really crucial if you want to think about these tiny changes, right? So again, personalize it to your journey where you are currently. But those are the things I would hopefully encourage you to kind of encourage with your diet. Again, if you have, let's say, kidney issues and you're in a point that you have to monitor, you might need to be careful about a plant-based diet. It can definitely decrease inflammation and improve kidney function to a degree, but the higher potassium, so speak to your nephrologist if you're wanting to consume more fruits or vegetables, or if you're also on warfarin, that might be something that you might want to speak to someone, just because you want to maintain that in INR. Again, vitamin K, is a lot of vitamin K going on in the plant-based diet. You can absolutely do it, but you just might need to adjust your medication just a little bit. So just highlighting those things. Again, I felt amazing since doing a few different things, adding more soy to my smoothie and some other things. I'll do a deeper dive into my own personal journey at a later date, but I really want to highlight these things. So lower glycemic foods, higher protein based on what you're needing, satiety, anti-inflammatory foods. Again, we're addressing those things that cause the weight gain, and then in resistance training. And then you create your meal plan that works well for you. Then you monitor and adjust and see what's going on, and just give yourself, monitor your weight maybe once a week, just so that you can use it as data so you know where you're going. Maybe a CGM would be helpful to see what your blood sugar is doing, checking different labs to see what your cholesterol panel is doing. And so when you address those very specific needs, that's where someone, if you're struggling to understand how to do this, that's where you can learn more in my free masterclass, the 5 steps to mastering your metabolism and losing weight. I also speak to the 4 biggest issues that mistakes people run into on their weight loss journey. But I speak to how you can learn to know what labs you should be getting. What do they mean? Understanding, how do you address your specific needs? What education do you need? How do you personalize it? How do you put it into action and build it into a habit? I discuss how to approach that again in the free masterclass. The link is below. Please subscribe also to the channel or wherever you're listening, and share this with someone if you think if this isn't for you, that's okay too. And thank you for your time, but maybe share it with someone that might be find this helpful. Again, so appreciate your time and sending you joy, love, and peace, and above all, healing, because boy, we need more of that in this world. And so I hope you found this helpful. And again, don't forget to please sign up for the free masterclass. I hope to see you there. And I'll be back with some more, who knows, fun stories around menopause and weight loss and plant-based diet and all these lovely things that just make life better. So thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate you as always.